I'm joined by a pediatric intensivist. This is an emergency care specialist. Her name is Dr. Molla. Good morning, doctor.
Morning, Olivia.
I am so in awe of everything that you are and everything that you do, and unashamedly so.
I'm deeply honored. Thanks a lot.
The year was 1982. I had a very serious accident. In fact, they said if you try to fly this child out of the country, huyu mtoto atakufa. And someone just like you, alisema no, mwache hapa, nitamsort. Of course, they said it in Arabic because we were living in Cairo at the time.
Okay.
But those Egyptian doctors saved my life.
So on behalf of the Pediatric Society and the global one, we'd like to appreciate their efforts and for the good that they're done.
Get a vaccine. Keep our frontline workers alive.
Vaccinated.
Get vaccinated. You, I know you are.
Okay.
Watu wengine, go get vaccinated. It's very, very important. So, Dr. Molla, what is pediatrics?
So we have the global definition for pediatrics. Basically, anybody who's under 18 is considered a child.
Okay.
But in terms of pediatrics as a practice, it's actually reduced and fragmented into the different geographic locations. But the definition for Kenya actually encompasses until 13 years of age. So when you get to 13 years of age, in some facilities, you'll be required to be seen by a physician. Automatically, your file gets sent to a physician instead of being queued to the pediatricians. But in some facilities, they use 15 years. Some facilities still use the 18 years, which is the global definition. There's a big gap between 13 years and 18 years.
Yes.
The young adolescents, they tend to be the missed out population, yet they're the most important in terms of the pediatric age group. So
Really?
Yes.
It's not like pre-toddler?
Those are the formative years.
Yes.
But you see, there's a gap because everybody we have for children who are less than 30 days, we have the neonatologist.
Yes.
We have the people who look after the infants.
Yes.
The people who do under 5.
Yes.
Everybody goes on until 13 years.
Okay.
Then after 13 years, then should you see a physician, should you see a pediatrician?
Yes.
And even for the adolescent themselves,
Yes.
at times they feel like, why am I in a pediatric clinic? So they're still fighting the adolescent issues. They're just getting in touch with their sexuality and everything
Yes,
else.
yes.
And then they walk, for example, into a pediatric hospital with Teletubbies and...
Oh, I love the Teletubbies because I have a 3-year-old.
Exactly. And Cocomelon. Then all of
Yes.
a sudden they're like, okay, even the seats are actually designed for the children, so they might actually end up standing
Yes.
as they wait to be queued in.
be
So
seen.
then there's need for them to be moved to the older population. And
I understand.
most people tend to be more comfortable with that kind of arrangement.
And what about an intensivist? What is a pediatric intensivist?
Pediatric intensivists, there are pediatricians. So first of all, you train to be a pediatrician. And then after that, you go and subspecialize.
So 6 years training to be a pediatrician.
Undergraduate, 6 years.
Okay, so you're not yet a pediatrician, okay?
So you're not a pediatrician, you've just qualified from medical school. You're
Yes.
basically a medical officer intern. You go and do your internship.
Yes.
How
long?
1 year internship. After that, you're supposed to be working for around 3 to 4 years before you
Okay.
go back to do your master's.
That's now 10, 11 years,
Yes.
okay? How long is master's?
The master's is 3 years. So you do your pediatrics for Kenya, it's pediatrics and child health.
Okay.
It's put as a combination.
Yes.
Then you do a 3 years. Then you go and practice again for 2 years. Because
Wow.
you have to get now board certified as a pediatrician.
We're
which
now
requires
almost
2
17 years.
Yes. And then after that, then now you do an intensivist training. In Kenya, we don't have emergency incorporated, but since the training is new in the country and you're partnering with other facilities outside the country, then they use the model for emergency medicine and critical care.
Hosting pediatric intensivist. She is an emergency and critical care pediatrician. Her name is Dr. Molla. Quick question.
Yes, Olivia.
COVID, what are the signs in children?
We don't have like specific signs for COVID because COVID is a new thing and we're learning a lot of things from it. The usual non-specific signs. So you have your non-relenting fevers. So you have the usual fevers of the flus that you get, seasonal flus, and children are having fevers.
Yes.
But the type of fevers that you have with COVID is non-relating in terms of you've given your Calpol, you've given your paracetamol, you've exposed the baby, you've maybe even put warm water to try and lower down the fevers, but somehow it's not just coming down. So you have we have the fever, we have the usual flus, so the homas, the child is sneezing.
Yes.
Cough has also been top on the list, but with this third wave, it's actually coming down. So most children are actually not presenting with cough, but previously we had a lot of cough and pharyngitis, what people commonly call tonsillitis. So
Yes.
you have the sore throats that have been very, very common. So these are the common presentations and the non-severe forms that we get to see as intensivists in the ICU. So basically, the hapa syndrome. You have a bit of malaise. The child is not so playful as usual.
Yes.
Not feeding well.
Yes.
You could have vomiting. You can still have stomachache. So it's not something that there's like a danger sign that is going to make you think about COVID.
Yes.
But you just have to have it at the back of your mind because many times it's going to be non-specific.
And do you advise that children get tested for COVID?
Yes and no. It depends on the situation. Why do you want them to be tested?
I've not tested my son, even though we've had symptoms. I've tested myself. I've not tested. I find it a very intrusive process to test first and foremost, and I'm an adult. So I wanted to ask your expert opinion on that.
Testing is if I'm saying if the child is sick at home and we don't have the danger signs, and maybe quickly I'll run to the danger signs. So if your fever is not responding, anything 38, 39, 40, you have to see the doctor. You have to go to the hospital. Now, difficulty in breathing is very, very important. So normally children you're not supposed to be seeing the nose of the children opening and closing. But when you find that the child is having like labored breathing, is struggling to breathe. Some homes actually have the pulse oximeter and they're able to pick up the saturation. So these are the danger signs. And of course, drowsiness and altered level of consciousness. Then when you have the danger signs, then there's no two way about it.
Yes.
Then you're going to go to the hospital. And for now, anybody who steps into the facility is going to be tested for COVID, especially if you have the telltale, what you initially were calling the telltale signs. So
Okay.
then we have to test for that. If children are going to school, I don't think we're going to test all the school populations, because what are we aiming at? Unless we're doing a research, unless we're going to do a study.
Yes.
But it has to be targeted, basically, because
Yes.
we're gonna run out of these supplies.
True,
And
true.
we need to use the limited resources that we have intentionally for a given population so as to be able to answer a specific question. Now, if you come to the ICU where I work,
Yes.
then we must test you for COVID.
Okay.
One, because ICU is a critical place. Either some centers already have patients with COVID, so you're likely to be exposed. So that means you have to isolate you. If you're negative, then we have to isolate you and prevent you from getting the COVID itself. But if you're positive, then we know we'll put up these measures to be able to get you. But if you're stepping into an ICU, or for most admissions, for most facilities that I've worked for, they actually admit you. If you're going to be admitted, they actually have to do the tests.
Now that you've talked about a hospital setting
Yeah.
and having to test, should parents continue taking their children for clinic days and to continue receiving those regular vaccinations?
That is a must, and we can't overemphasize that. The new normal, and life has to continue. Remember, the reason why you're taking your child for your vaccination is to prevent them from getting other illnesses. So let us not forget that we still have the measles, we still have rota, we still have the pneumonias, we still have the meningitis. In fact, if you look at the fatality rate,
Yes.
that is the rate of how an infection can kill somebody,
Yes.
then for pediatrics, COVID actually scores low.
Yes.
So
yes.
you're more likely to get meningitis, you're more likely to get pneumonia, you're more likely to get diarrhea than having a child getting very sick because of COVID. So yes, you have to continue with your immunizations, go for your checkups and go for your consultations and see your doctors, even if it is an outpatient basis. And interestingly, now we have a group of doctors who've actually come up and said, we can actually do this from the luxury of your homes, and we have different facilities doing that. So you can just call in and say, okay, my child is 6 months. Then they'll be like, okay, for 6 months, we have to give you this vaccine. So we'll be coming at such a time. And most people actually come donned. So we actually assume.
Everyone is positive.
Yeah,
yes.
you have to be cautious. You have to
course.
protect the few doctors that you have. So we
course.
will come down and then we'll give you the vaccine.
Morning, I'm Olivia Otieno, female host, female guests, female artists. That's what Double O Direct is all about. And if you want to dress me and you're a female designer, you are shonaing in your house, you have a stall, you could even be a female entrepreneur. For example, you just sell the clothes, you have a boutique, you have a stand. Let me know on Instagram at Olivia Otieno. I won't even go to Twitter or Facebook because that's just not going to confuse me. So hit me up on Instagram at Olivia Otieno, or you can hit us up at SpiceFMKE because I want to wear what you make. I'm looking for a kitenge, interestingly enough. It's been several years since I wore a kitenge. I am not shy about it. So if you make that or whatever, please let me know, because I would love to wear one of your outfits. But we're giving away tea and coffee thanks to Sassini PLC. They've been around since 1952. Those are some very deep roots. And what makes them very special is that they have a farm to cup philosophy. Farm to cup. Yes, I never leave without my coffee. I always start my day with my coffee. Circa around 5 a.m., I'll be drinking my first Americano. Then around 10:30, 11, I'll have another one of these. Then in the afternoon, I switch to decaf, but I love my coffee. So if you love your coffee as much as I do, or if you love tea, people are different. I'm not judging. All you have to do is use the hashtag #00direct on any social media platform. I got a hamper for you. The people in your house, whatever they prefer, all you have to do, use the hashtag #00direct, and you'll get to experience the rich taste of Sassini tea and coffee for yourself. Joining me now is pediatric intensivist Dr. Molla, who's also in the running for a national... No, you thought I wouldn't mention it.
I was praying you wouldn't.
No, I'm definitely going to mention it. And now is the time to mention it, because I am women all the way. National treasure. Now, the reason why, she's very qualified for this position, is because she's not just a pediatric intensivist, right? Dr. Molla has several, let me say that again. Dr. Molla has several qualifications.
I thought we had a deal.
With lots of letters. No, we had no deal. Yeah? So the first letters are IMIS. IMIS diploma from Strathmore University. Then lots more letters, MBCHB, MMED, Pediatrics and Child Health from the University of Nairobi. She also now, which is the most relevant for this national treasurer position that she's going for, is an MBA in Finance and Strategic Management from Kwea, Catholic University of East Africa. She's also... Azijaisha, right? A fellow of pediatrics, emergency and critical care from the University of Nairobi and Boston Children's. When are you going to Boston?
COVID will dictate.
COVID will dictate?
Yes, and that is guided by flight schedule.
Yes.
Yeah, but sometime at the end of this year and hopefully part of next year.
I'm rooting for you all the way. I'm rooting for you all the way. We need a female treasurer at the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union.
Thank you.
Question, how has COVID impacted children at your ICU?
And other ICUs, I hope?
Yes.
Oh, okay, fine. So we've had children who've been infected. Globally, we've not had a lot of severe cases, especially for children who do not have comorbidities. Comorbidities to mean you don't have any other illnesses.
Like asthma,
yes, like asthma, the cancers and the bleeding disorders, what you can call the big things. Yes. So for that, most of the children we've admitted them. Some of them have been on home follow-up. Yes. Some of them have been in the facilities, but most of them have actually been able to come out. But I remember among the first pediatric mortalities, I was actually a contact person for the first child we actually lost for COVID. But this is a child who, we're not going to disclose the details, but had a comorbidity.
Yes.
So for those are the ones who we are seeing mostly in the ICU.
Yes.
And we are getting a lot. We are getting an upsurge in the numbers.
Yes.
I think because we are still hitting the third wave, but
yes.
we are hoping that it's going to calm down with all these restrictive measures that have been put in place. But things should quieten down. Now, in terms of how COVID has affected,
yes.
There's infected the way you get, just like HIV, you can either get the disease itself
yes.
or it can affect you.
Yes.
Now, we've had a lot of effects on the children and the pediatric population. Remember, COVID is a very lonely disease. Meaning, for example, if you get COVID, for example, chances of somebody coming to visit you
drop.
Nil.
Yeah, of course.
So you're in a ward somewhere, and you cannot even be able to identify your primary doctor because your primary doctor is wearing a hazmat suit.
Exactly.
The nurses are all donned on. So basically, you're just there quietly. There's some people who go in with the music, but
yes.
when you're critical, then all these things are left aside. So the nurturing human beings are such that you want somebody to come and see you when you're sick, as in to help you through the ailing process.
Yes. For
COVID, we don't have that, and so it's a lonely disease. And if it happens to the parents of the children,
yes.
then they don't even have complete access. Remember, for children, we try and restrict their access even to the wards, general wards, even without COVID. But now when there's COVID, then now there's total. Now you're not able to access. Some facilities have mirrors, some facilities don't have that luxury. So children they're also not going to school.
Of course.
So they are at home. The holidays have been longer. And then even when they're in school, things have changed. You're not able to share a pen. You're not allowed to share a snack.
Or do ring around a rosy.
You cannot do that. And the children naturally like sharing things. I remember when you're growing up, even for a sweet, you'll actually put your hand and somebody will break it for you. And then you'll take the other half. That one right now cannot even be phantom. That is enough. That is enough for you even to get suspended, because that is for now it is very, very invasive.
Yes.
So you cannot hug your friend.
Yes.
Now you're spaced out with your desk mate. So those of us who used to whisper in class cannot do that. So teachers are enjoying. Yeah, so their lifestyle have actually been affected. They cannot go to the playgrounds.
Yes.
And for pediatrics, child development requires that children run away,
Yes.
children run around
Interact.
and play, interact, because the stimuli actually helps them to grow. So they don't have that luxury. They can't go to their houses of worship, whichever one is there. So they have to sit at home. And somehow this has increased screen time. Even as a parent, I control my screen time for my children.
Yes.
But then I'll tell them, okay, now it's church time. Let's watch the screen. So basically,
I am trying to manage that because it's educational, but it's entertainment. entertainment.
Yes.
So I'm trying to manage how to have the screen have this dual role for a 3-year-old, because
all the best with that.
it is not working. It is not working. It is just now entertainment full time.
Oh, yeah.
But we understand because it's such a traumatizing and difficult time, especially for those who you cannot explain what is happening to.
Exactly.
I want to know, why is it that you're not supposed to give cough syrup? One of the primary, symptoms of COVID has been a continuous perpetual cough.
Yes.
But you're not supposed to give children cough syrup. Until what age?
So most studies,
Yes.
the adult studies actually advocate for cough syrups.
Okay.
So when they looked at the adult population, and they gave cough syrups, they had a good outcome. Now for pediatric population, there is no benefits that has come down with the cough syrups.
All the way to 13 or?
All the way till 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6
years. So the key word is you should be able to expectorate. To expectorate is basically to cough deep enough to remove the mucus from your lungs. But that doesn't happen until you're around 5-6 years.
Okay.
So for young children, people have come up with different formulations, some to just soothe you,
Yes.
some to relieve you, some to sedate you, some
Yes.
actually make you sleep nice, but they're
Yes.
basically not helping you with the cough. So for children, basically we do not advocate for cough syrups at all.
What can you give?
What can you give? Ideally, we manage the symptoms. If the child has a fever, okay. Now we've had other things that have been modified. When we were growing up, it used to be Vicks and Robe that
Yes.
is rubbed on your nose and
Yes.
on your chest.
Yes.
And right now we've grown a little bit gisty. We have the Cavol drops. They're
Yes.
just so basically they're just natural things that are supposed to be making you comfortable.
Okay.
But they're not sorting out the problem. So for example, if you have a stuffed nose,
Yes.
I can give you drops to
Yes.
make it open up, and then you
Yes.
can breathe nice.
Use a humidifier.
Yes, you can use a humidifier. You can actually put the drops on the clothes. You can put them in the pillows. You can put them I almost said in water. A long time ago, you put a boiling water and you're covered with a blanket, and that is just basically misting and humidifying.
Okay.
And even for children who have things like bronchiolitis,
Yes.
the reason why we do that is just to make you comfortable, and so that you're able to breathe up and don't struggle through the breathing. So a lot of hydration, because you
Yes.
lose a lot of fluid when your nose is runny and
Yes.
you're coughing and you're very uncomfortable. You are dehydrated. So hydration, and it's plain water. There's no water with salt, water with glucose, or sodas or juices. Those ones are pana. Vitamin C is very, very important
Yes.
in the natural form.
From?
So drink your juices. So eat your oranges and eat your citrus fruits.
Dr. Molla, we were talking about the role of alternative medicine on COVID. What about vitamins?
For vitamins, remember we have different types of vitamins.
Yes.
And we have for different types, for growth, for immune function. So we have vitamin D for your immunity and for bone formation.
I take B12 because I'm a vegetarian.
Yeah, so
I have to take
vegetarians,
it.
you have to be on B12.
Even
because
children?
Even the children, as long as you're a strict vegetarian, you're supposed to be on supplements for the B12.
I am.
Now, we advocate for the natural form of the vitamins.
Yes.
So your oranges and your vegetables then play an important role in your diet, because for children, diet is very, very important. What you feed your child is actually how the child is going to grow. I mean, the Bible says, train your child on how you want the child to grow.
Yes.
So even in terms of diet, what you present to them as a snack, most likely and most advisable, it's supposed to be a vegetable or a fruit. The finger fruits, you can, and for vegetables, you can do your carrot sticks, your cucumber sticks, things that are going to be able to make them build up their immunity and fight infections.
Yes.
Now, vitamin D is very, very important. Now, studies are being done for vitamin D in all sectors of medicine, from the cancer perspective to the respiratory perspective to the stomach issues, and even for diarrhea. And it's actually a very, very critical thing and a critical vitamin. We have the advantage of having like tropical environment, the sun. The best form of vitamin D is the sun.
I always make sure that by 10 a.m. my son's outside.
Yeah,
Riding a bike, riding his scooter,
Yes.
walking, stomping in the mud, it doesn't matter.
Yes. So the outside form of the vitamin D is the best form of the vitamin D. So when you have a small child, most mothers tend to cover them up and add an umbrella on top.
And a big blanket. Man, like, the child will never get vitamin D.
So they'll never get the vitamin D. Vitamin
Yes.
D is important, not only just for your teeth and for your bone formation, but basically it's playing a very, very important role. Now, initially when COVID started, remember COVID is a new thing, and people had their own ideas of what could have worked.
Yes.
Then vitamin D was out of stock in every place, because everybody was running for their vitamin C and their vitamin Ds
Supplements,
and
yeah.
supplements. And when you went to outpatients, everybody was given a whole concoction of and on social media, everybody was posting their prescriptions that included vitamin C and vitamin D.
Yes.
The dietary form is the best. Remember, there's only so much your body can absorb. So if you take it in terms of the tablets, then
Or
at
the
times- syrup, you might actually exceed what is expected. And so most of them are just going to be passed out as urine
Yes.
or passed out as stool. Now,
Yes.
the forms that are natural tend to be absorbed more. So you're more likely to absorb 80 to 90% of the natural form, and gives you more benefit. Now, with diet for the pediatrics, now
Yes.
we've had concerns about stunting, and it's an emerging issue. Initially, it used to be there because we didn't have a lot of understanding about our diet. But
Yes.
over the time, now we're not talking about quantity in terms of diet, but the quality of the diet that children are having. So because we are a snacking nation,
Yes.
we are on the go. Now we have drive-thrus.
Yes.
So those ones have to be regulated so that you ensure you have a holistic diet plan to ensure that the child is growing very well. Height is a bit genetic. Remember,
Okay.
you can only grow. You are tall.
From what you are given.
from what mommy and daddy has brought on the table. So if mommy
course.
and daddy are short, you don't expect to exceed beyond that. But
True.
some of them, in family traits, probably there's an uncle who's tall, and probably
tall.
you picked a bit of that gene.
Yes.
So that's why when you go to the clinics, you normally have a book
Yes.
where we chart for you your weight,
Yes.
but there's also another page where we chart for you your length, so as to be able to just track it up and make sure that you're within the percentiles that is accepted for your weight,
Yes.
for your age as an individual. Not, we can't judge you against other people.
All factors notwithstanding,
Yes.
what if it does rule that you are stunted or this child is stunted? Can diet play a role?
That is the for our setup, actually diet is number one on the list.
Okay.
So we have children who have malnutrition, that especially if it has been chronic to mean that it has been a long-standing effect in the body.
Yes.
And this could be because of other illnesses, lack of availability of food, or not understanding the food preparations. Then diet is the only way you're going to be able to sort your stunting. Now, if there are other illnesses, remember, if you have a heart problem, a
Okay.
kidney problem, a liver problem,
Yes.
all those things, it's like your body is taking its time fighting whatever is ongoing.
Yes.
And switching away from, now food doesn't become a priority. So you tend to, and some illnesses you actually lose even the nutrients, especially if you have like stomach problems, you lose the nutrients. So you manage the disease for the
Yes.
chronic illnesses, you have to first identify what is the leading cause of this stunting for
Yes.
me. So if it is nutrition, you check out a nutritionist, and we have various nutritional programs, even up to the slums. In fact, in the slum is where we have a lot of nutrition outreach.
Yes.
That is providing the supplemented porridge,
Yes.
giving them supplemented flour, and national. If you look at our national protocols, most of our things are being fortified. Take, for example, and I'm not presenting any brand, if you look at Blue Band right now,
Yes.
they actually said fortified with vitamin A, D, E, and K,
Yes.
because that is what the WHO has recommended,
Yes.
that you need to fortify.
Yes.
If you look at our flours right now,
Yes.
we are actually fortifying, so that
Yes.
we are making sure that in the event that I take a little cup of porridge,
Yes.
that it has to be nutritious enough to
Yes.
be able to meet my nutritional demands and be able to be metabolically active and basically be healthy.
Especially now with COVID, where
Especially
it's so
now with
difficult to
COVID.
even get your daily bread. It's
Exactly.
important that what you do get is fortified.
Yes.
Wrapping up with pediatric intensivist. She's an emergency and critical care specialist. Dr. Molla, running for national treasurer. Who votes for these positions, if you don't mind me asking?
Only the doctors.
Daktari, surely.
Only the doctors, the dentists, and the pharmacists.
Talk to your doctor. You see, every Kenyan has a doctor somewhere. Talk to your doctor. Tell them about Dr. Molla. Tell her about her desire to be the national treasurer. She is more than qualified. She has an MBA, Jemeni. She's not just a medical professional. She has an MBA from Strathmore.
Hello, MBA was from Queer.
From Queer.
Yeah.
Very, very reputable. Very reputable. So please, Dr. Molla, going for national treasurer. And tell me, as we wrap up, what are the must-haves at home with regards to taking care of your children? Medically.
So it's age dependent. So if you have, for children who are neonates, that is less than 1 month, we don't advocate for so much because we want these children to be seen in the facility. So those ones, if the child is not doing well, just have to go to the facility. But the common things that most people normally have, which are a bit controversial, but you can discuss at a later date, the colic medication. So everybody's worried about colic, so you can have...
I used Ashton and Parsons. I was told it's quackology.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, a bit controversial. We can't discuss that, but... Some children get bad colics, truth be told. So whatever works for you for colic, for you it was Ashton, for somebody else.
Actually, he never had colic. I never opened it. I just had it. Because my son never had colic. He was such an angel baby. I think.
Oh, you are very lucky.
I was very lucky.
Yeah,
I never opened the packet, but I had it because I thought it in a kuja. It never arrived. So continue.
So for that age, usually that is the main problem. Then fevers, this again is normally guided by the vaccines. And I think for most of the time, we're actually treating the mother. But just like even for COVID vaccine, you might actually have fever as one of the effects from getting the vaccine. So you're taking a child for clinics, so you might want to give Calpol before or don't wait for the baby to get jabbed, then get irritated, then start crying for you to give the Calpol. You can actually preempt that and just give them Calpol for just 24 hours. You'll be able to sort it out. You don't need multivitamins, you don't need anything for that age. Until they are 1 year, a lot of flus come in and out. So basically, it's just fever medication. Now, this comes as a disclaimer. Now, for a child with a specific condition, then you must have to stock that drug at home. And even when you're traveling. You know, you have a child who's an asthmatic. Now, we're not telling everybody to have inhalers at home, but you have a child who's asthmatic, then you must have the inhalers with you, even when you're traveling. And when they're going into school, you always have to make sure that the school bag has this in the diaries in the diary. Let the teachers know. The school nurse should be aware, because we've had bad incidences with not having that communication. Because by the time, for example, in Nairobi, by the time you call me, or as a mother, and my child is probably in another school, then it's not going to happen. By the time I get there, it might be too late. But
you're at least 30 minutes to 1 hour, sometimes even further away.
And that is actually critical time, hence the critical care. That is a critical time. We have to make decisions, we have to move, and we don't have the luxury of wasting that particular time. Apart from that, other medications, that if your child has maybe eczema, you'll probably have a specific soap, you'll have a specific thing, but those are guided by what your child actually does have. But I have a carry-on bag.
Yes.
My carry-on bag, as a person, one has a painkiller.
Yes.
So a syrup for my young girl and the tablets for the older boys.
Yes.
Has an anti-allergy.
Yes.
You can go somewhere, eat something can happen, and then you get...
Is it an ointment or is it a syrup?
It's a syrup.
Okay.
So anything can happen. And you had people reacting to several things.
True.
I kind of carry inhalers because I have a family history of asthma.
Yes.
And this can happen to anybody. So we must have our inhalers in our pack.
Yes.
I carry Eno.
You never know what you're going to eat.
You never know what you're going to eat. And you don't want to be in the middle of God knows where and having stomach issues.
True. And
something just to relieve the stomach discomfort. So maybe Buscopan for the child. And to me, that is it. You should be able to sort like 90% of your problems within that margin.
What about those sachets for hydration? Should you have those in your home?
Curry water.
Just water.
Or for hydration in terms of the,
For example,
the oral rehydration.
yes.
Oh, those ones you must have. Because many a times the child can have loose stool. For us to define diarrhea, you must have had loose stool like 3 episodes.
Yes.
So you're not going to sit somewhere and wait for episode number 3 for me to say my child is diarrheaing.
Yes.
If you've had loose stool, give the ORS. And
Yes.
right now they're actually nice flavored. They're orange. Long time ago they weren't. Right now they're orange flavored. The child will drink it as juice, and that should be able to help the child. Those ones you must have.
Parting thoughts, Dr. Molla?
Oh, first of all, I'd like to appreciate the time that you've given to me, and I'd like to also thank the people who've been able to support and ensure that this has taken place. I want to thank all the women who've actually put their necks outside there.
Yes.
It's a rough one for us. Trust me, I'm in the campaign trail, and the ground is not level for us.
How many women?
3 for the
Out
national. For national, we actually 3 against like 15. You know what? When gentlemen can leave Nairobi and go to campaign even in Western and take 4 days, I don't have that luxury. Probably thinking about my kids, work, what. The level ground is not the same, but I appreciate all the women. Those who've been trailblazers. There's so many women who are actually setting the pace and we're able to look up to and just say,
Dr. Rosemary Lopokoyet.
yes, and that's my chair. And that is my chair. And she's an amazing woman, amazing pediatrician, and an amazing administrator, because we want women in leadership, and this is an opportune time to have somebody who's a woman to actually come there. I'm looking forward to next time that you're going to have the union elections to be vying for the national chair in terms of national chair or the secretary general, so that I can be the face of the union and actually encourage the young girls who are coming after me, and to be able to know that women can do it. In terms of academics, pediatric intensivists, we are very few in the country. I'd like to encourage the doctors who are listening and any other person that it's a nice field to come into. A lot of reading, because this is critical care.
Of course.
But it's manageable, and we're moving towards that direction, because now we are trying to make sure that every county has an intensivist to be able to take care of our children. And COVID has taught us that we actually need ICUs that have doctors, because human resource for health is very, very important.
Yes.
And it is actually doable and it's possible. Otherwise, thank you for the viewers, and thank you for the forum.
Thank you, Dr. Lollah Molla, and all the best on the campaign trail.
I'll update you on 29th how it goes.
Is everybody all right? Fantastic.
Spice FM.